With training camp on the way, it's time to take a look at the Giants' position groups. Today, we're looking at quarterbacks. John Schmelk, Jeff Fiegels with you. And Jeff, year two for a quarterback is always extremely important. You can see a very large jump, and the Giants hope they see that with Daniel Jones, who's coming off a very promising rookie campaign.
Yeah, I think it's important. That second year, you like to see a lot of growth, like you mentioned, John. But, for Daniel Jones, it's going to be important for him to really get a head start on this new playbook. You got a new offensive coordinator. So, really, when you look at Daniel Jones and his coming out of college last year and this year, that's three different systems. So, it's got a lot of work. But, he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of help around him, which, of course, we'll start to talk about as some of these other guys who I think will do really well helping him kind of be that experience that he needs.
Before we get to the depth, Jeff, where do you want to see Daniel make the biggest jump on the field from his first to second year? Where do you think he needs to make the most improvements?
Well, I think we all would agree that protecting the football. Last year, I think he tried to make some plays with his feet and understood that, hey, listen, I got to hold on to the football a little bit better. You're in the National Football League. Guys, they end up they close in on you a little bit quicker. And, John, as you know, too, is that the league is faster. Everything kind of moves a little bit quicker. But I feel that's one area he has to concentrate on, both holding the football and also throwing the interceptions. I think if he's able to improve on those two categories, I think he's in for a nice year.
Yeah, if you look at his first year, Jeff, and you watch just his highlight tape, you think he was a star quarterback. He made some spectacular throws, some spectacular plays. To your point, he had a couple low lows, but he had some really highs as well over the course of the year.
You look at the way he played in some of those games. He threw a couple games over 400 yards. That's unprecedented for a rookie quarterback. Again, I think that, we try to really look and take a deep dive into his performance. And I think we should look at more of the good than the bad, because those are always things he can work on.
All right, let's look at the backups. They bring in a couple veterans this offseason, rookie, and they return Alex Tanney. So let's start with Tanney first, because he's back from last year. He was in the quarterback room with Daniel Jones, and Tanney's just one of those guys who is a very good guy to have to help your young quarterback along.
100%. He's comfortable with him. He was in that quarterback room last year. And listen, Alex Tanney, he understands his role both on the field and in the classroom. It'll be interesting because with COVID, there's all kinds of talks about having an extra quarterback and where you're going to put him. Alex Tanney is one of those guys where he could be very valuable in a situation like that. So I see Alex Tanney competing actually for Colt McCoy and even Cooper Rush behind for that quarterback position. He may have to go to the practice squad possibly.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned it. They have 5 quarterbacks on the roster right now. Tanney was one. You mentioned Colt McCoy, one of their veteran offseason additions. And, McCoy started a few years for Washington. He started for Cleveland a little bit. That has been a backup quarterback for a very long time. As soon as he got the job, he reached out to Daniel Jones, says, I want to help you the same way Eli helped you last year. And he's one of those guys that you bring in that is going to be able to do his job well.
Well, I think, we talk about veteran presence, right? He had Eli Manning in that room last year. Alex Tanney, both of those guys, veteran presence. Well, Colt McCoy is one of those guys. He also has a lot of experience in the downfield passing game, which that Jason Garrett's going to bring into this offense. So he can at least listen, quarterbacks get banged up. You've got to have a quality backup quarterback in the National Football League. And I think Colt McCoy is one of those guys. He certainly is a leader in the locker room. He'll be a leader on this team, even being a backup quarterback. But most importantly, leadership on and off the field. Even on game day, having that sideline presence will help Daniel Jones exponentially.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cooper Rush previously. He was brought in as well. He served as a backup to Dak Prescott the last couple of years. A young veteran, and his value, Jeff, has to be that he knows exactly what Jason Garrett wants out of his quarterback and what this system is all about.
100%. I think if you're going to compare, and talk about Cooper Rush, you're going to talk about him being with the Cowboys, being with that system. Jason Garrett knows him. He knows Jason Garrett. He also knows that offense very, very well. He knows about the offensive line. Mark Colombo coming from Dallas. He understands kind of all the situational stuff that goes into being a quarterback in a system that's going to be new for the other guys, but it'll be somewhat new for him, because there'll be a little bit of wrinkles here and there, because obviously Jason Garrett wasn't the offensive coordinator, but he will bring that type of offense to the Giants this year.
And then finally, Jeff, a youngster, undrafted free agent, Case Kukis, who will have a chance to make an impression.
Case Kukis. Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously the Giants like something about him, whether it's his toughness. I know he threw a lot of touchdowns in college. He's one of those guys. He has a lot to learn. It's going to be a stacked room in that quarterback room, John. So this is a prime example of somebody that may make it to the practice squad. But, he's got a lot of good people to learn from, and it's just a matter of getting in camp and really just being a sponge.
Jeff, first time in more than 15 years we're talking about this position group, and we don't mention Eli Manning. It's just very different.
Well, let's just mention him there. Hey, Eli, how you doing?
And I think it's going to be fun to see how this plays out. You're trying to groom a new franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones and figure out. We don't know how many backups they're going to want behind him. Do they want 2 on the active roster? Do they want 3? Just a real interesting thing to see how this coaching staff is going to work this group.
And I think that, with the COVID-19 being such a huge impact on what's going on in the National Football League this year, I think that having this many guys in the room is okay. I think that the ultimate thing here is that who is the best one on the roster? It's obviously Daniel Jones, but who can come in if something happened to Daniel Jones and the Giants are doing well and take them through the rest of the season or get them through a couple games. I think we've mentioned some really good candidates.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
That's our look at quarterbacks as we preview the Giants position groups leading into training camp 2020.